Dude, everything stopped. Oh no.
What's that?
Dude, look at this. Oh, dude, she's smoked, buddy. Like, bad.
In the heart of the 2024 Yukon mining season, Parker Schnabel was facing a crisis. His 10,000-ounce goal seemed impossible. We're digging into the story of how Parker Schnabel hit a $430,000 gold patch, staging his best comeback ever. But before the massive payday, we'll show you the terrifying near disaster that almost ended it all and the shocking total that left Parker stunned.
This will act just like a zipper. If this gets caught on anything, it'll just rip the belt right open. We're gonna need to get Alec down here, get Liam down here, everybody we can, get this thing fixed up as fast as possible.
You won't believe what happened just seconds after the weigh-in. Why Parker's crew was at a breaking point. You see, Taven was part of a green crew. Parker, in his relentless push for a 10,000-ounce season, had stretched his resources to the absolute limit. This meant hiring new operators and throwing them into the deep end. Taven, barely out of his teens and dreaming of escaping his small town, was now at the controls of a machine worth a fortune, and he was stuck. He had been trying to widen a new road along the cut, dumping material into a gap. But he was dealing with slough material, soft, unstable fill that couldn't hold the truck's immense weight. He felt the cab shift and did the only thing he could. He stopped. The young operator grabbed the radio, his voice tense. He called for his foreman, Mitch Blaschke.
Mitch, you got a copy?
Yeah, man, what's up?
Yeah, I'm stuck up here. I'm gonna need a little hand with the dozer.
Maybe pull out the front.
All right, yeah, I'll head that way.
To put it mildly, Mitch was already having a bad day. He was trying to manage a critical lack of resources, keep the wash plant Roxanne fed with pay dirt, and train new people all at once. The plant was about to run out of pay, and now he had to drop everything for an emergency rescue. This wasn't just an inconvenience, it was a full-blown crisis. Every minute spent on this rescue was a minute not sluicing gold. Mitch arrived in the D10 dozer, a heavy hitter in its own right, and immediately saw the danger. Taven was frustrated, apologizing for the mess, but Mitch knew this was no time for blame. The ground was so soft that as soon as Mitch got his dozer close, he could feel his machine wanting to do the exact same thing, slide right off the edge. This was a delicate operation. One wrong move and they wouldn't just lose the truck, they could lose the dozer too, or worse. What many overlook in these moments is the sheer engineering challenge. Mitch couldn't just pull the truck, he had to stabilize the very ground it was sitting on. He had other trucks dump fresh loads of material right next to the sliding truck, slowly and carefully building a safety berm.
I'll come up here and see if we can cut some of this material that's behind you.
Yeah.
And if we can do that, we might be able to back you up a bit, but I'm just worried this thing's gonna want to
too.
try and roll here, so.
Yeah.
He pushed the material with his dozer blade, creating a new solid edge beside the teetering tires. This was a masterclass in heavy equipment operation, all done under immense pressure. After building up the bank, Mitch guided Taven, telling him to back up slowly. The truck's wheels gripped the new material, and inch by agonizing inch, the massive machine pulled itself back onto solid ground. The relief was instant. Taven, shaking with adrenaline, was incredibly grateful, even trying to give his foreman a hug.
All right, man, let's give that a try.
Beautiful work. Sorry that it had to be done.
Oh, no worries.
But Mitch, the seasoned pro, was all business. He wasn't a hugger. He just told the rookie to get back to moving dirt. This incident, while ending safely, was a glaring symptom of a much bigger problem. It was the first sign that Parker's massive gamble was pushing his crew to the breaking point. This one rookie mistake cost them hours, and time was the one thing they couldn't afford. Why Big Red was failing. Parker Schnabel didn't come to the Yukon to have an average season. He had set a colossal record-breaking goal, 10,000 ounces of gold. The thing nobody tells you about a goal that big is what it actually means. At the current price of gold, roughly $2,500 an ounce, 10,000 ounces translates to $25 million. It's an astronomical sum that requires a perfect, non-stop high-production season. But Parker's season had been anything but perfect. Before this week's cleanup, his season total was a measly 576 ounces. He was chasing a legend, but he was barely on the scoreboard. The The pressure was crushing, and it flowed downhill to his foreman, Mitch Blaschke. Mitch was running the main operation at the Long Cut, a massive 20-acre stretch of ground. His single most important job was keeping the wash plant, Roxanne, fed with pay dirt, but as he put it, he was facing a severe lack of resources. He was short on machines and, more importantly, short on experienced operators. Parker had them all over the place, spread thin across multiple sites. This is why rookies like Taven Peterson were being put in high-stakes situations. When you're trying to achieve the maximum every single day, adding new untrained people to the mix just adds another layer in the tough factor. The crew was struggling to keep up, and the constant battle with unstable ground and machine breakdowns meant they were just spinning their wheels. Roxanne, the plant that was supposed to be their biggest earner, was constantly starved for dirt. But Roxanne wasn't the only problem. Parker was also running Big Red, his other wash plant, in a different area called the Bridge Cut. This plant was supposed to be adding to his total, but it was badly underperforming. It was sluicing top gravels, which are rarely rich, and the results showed it.
We've dived into this property just head first and in a massive way, and are spending, way more money than we ever have with the least amount of income.
The previous week, Big Red had produced a pathetic 30 ounces. It was a terrible return that put even more pressure on the main Long Cut. With one plant failing, Parker was entirely dependent on Roxanne to save his season. It was a whole different ball game of risk, and Parker was leveraged to the hilt. With Big Red sputtering, all eyes were on Roxanne, but it was running out of pay. Parker's best comeback ever. It was time for the moment of truth. Parker met Mitch for the weekly gold weigh, the tension thick in the air. Parker dryly mentioned the exciting week, a clear reference to Taven's near disaster on the ledge. The Long Cut, he said, was not giving up the gold easily. It was time to see if all that struggle, all that risk had paid off. First up was the cleanup from Big Red, the underperforming plant. Hopes were not high. They poured the gold onto the scale. The numbers ticked up. 30, 40, 50. The final weight was 55.8 ounces. It was way better than the previous week's 30 ounces, translating to almost $140,000. But for the amount of fuel and time burned, it was, to put it mildly, a deep disappointment. Parker was visibly unimpressed, joking that Big Red seemed to be on some weird exercise program of just not finding any gold. This mediocre result put all the pressure squarely on the second weigh-in. If Roxanne didn't deliver, the week would be a disaster. Then it was time for the heavy hitter. Mitch brought out the gold from Roxanne. This was the plant they had fought tooth and nail for, the one Taven's truck was hauling dirt for, the one Mitch was struggling to keep fed. They started pouring the gold, and it was clear this was different. The scale shot past 50 ounces, then 90. Then it broke 100. The pile of shimmering gold kept growing. 130, 150, 170. The final official weight was a stunning 171.95 ounces.
All right, 20, 40, 50, 80, 90. Gonna break 100, 130, 145, 150, 170, 171.95.
This was the hit they had been desperately waiting for. At current prices, that single cleanup was worth just under $430,000. This was the comeback. This was the patch from the title. In one cleanup, Roxanne had produced more than 3 times what Big Red had, proving that the ground in the Long Cut held the key to Parker's season. It was a massive season-saving payday, a testament to the crew's relentless fight. This massive score brought the weekly total to 227 ounces. But Parker's reaction is not what anyone expected. 9,000 ounces to go. The crew finally had a moment to celebrate. The heavy yellow metal filled the pan, the result of a desperate push on a promising patch of ground. A $430,000 payday, combined with Big Red's steady contribution, gave them a weekly total of 227 3/4 ounces. In the high-stakes, low-margin world of Klondike gold mining, this was a monster win. It was a massive morale boost for a crew pushed to the breaking point by a week of relentless setbacks, frozen ground, and near disasters. You could see the relief on their faces. This was the score that saved the week, perhaps even the month. But what many overlooked was the look on Parker's face. He wasn't celebrating. He wasn't smiling. He was calculating. As soon as the scale settled, Parker did the math. The sound of the scale settling wasn't a ka-ching. It was the tick of a clock. This win brought his season total to 804.25 ounces, a respectable number for any other miner. But then came the ice-cold reality check. He looked at his crew, who were still basking in the glow of the $500,000 moment, and delivered the sobering news. They were only 9,200 ounces short of the goal. That single massive $430,000 comeback, and it barely made a dent.
For the week, you guys, we wound up with 227 3/4 ounces. And it brings the season total of 804.25.
They were still 92% away from their 10,000-ounce target. The mountain hadn't shrunk. They had just been reminded of how tall it truly was. At the end of the day, 227 ounces is a fantastic week for any normal mining operation. But Parker Schnabel isn't running a normal operation. He's running a high-risk, high-cost empire built on a single, audacious gamble. To hit his 10,000-ounce goal, he needs to average way more than this, every single week without fail, for the rest of the short Alaskan season. This comeback wasn't a victory. It was just proof that the gold was there, but it also proved they were not mining it fast enough. And for Parker, it opened up a Pandora's box of new, wild theories. A patch this rich doesn't just happen. It means something. It's a clue. But a clue to what? In his mind, he was no longer at the Gold Way. He was staring at a geological map, running scenarios. Was this patch a fluke? Or was it, as some old-timers theorize, the edge of the real prize? Was he tapping the halo of an undiscovered paleo channel, an ancient subterranean riverbed choked with gold, a golden highway that could hold 50,000 ounces? If this $430,000 patch was just the gold that leaked from the main channel, then the real motherlode was close. But where? Was it 10 feet to the left? 50 feet deeper? If he chased it and was wrong, he'd bankrupt the entire operation on a hunch. Then came the second, even more terrifying theory. The Klondike is notorious for false bedrock, a layer of hard-packed clay or barren rock that looks like the bottom, fooling miners into stopping. What if this rich streak wasn't sitting on bedrock, but had been washed down from above, settling on a false bottom? What if the real pay layer, the one his grandfather John Schnabel always talked about, was another 20 feet down? This theory was a nightmare. It meant that every yard of ground they had processed this season, every ounce of fuel burned, every hour of overtime might have been a failure. It suggested they were scraping the crumbs while the real feast was sitting right underneath their tracks. This $430,000 wasn't a win. It was evidence of a catastrophic miscalculation. Parker's mind was already on the next move. He turned to his team, his voice urgent, cutting through their celebration. The way the numbers were going, they had to escalate. The theories didn't matter if he couldn't get the data, and the only way to get the data was to move more dirt. He gave the order, fire up 3 plants, fire up 4 plants. He didn't care. They needed to get more gold rolling through the plants, and they needed to do it now.
Only 9,200 ounces short.
All right.
The way the numbers have been going, fire up 3 plants, 4 plants, I don't care. We need to get some gold rolling through here.
Yeah.
If the ancient channel theory was right, he needed to shotgun the cut, running test pans from multiple locations at once. If the false bedrock theory was right, he needed to dedicate one machine to punching deep, prospecting a hole straight down until it hit true bedrock or broke the bank trying. The pressure was suddenly higher than ever. This wasn't just a race against winter anymore, it was a race against a dozen terrifying possibilities. The long cut was still fighting them with ground that needed to thaw, permafrost as hard as concrete. Big Red, his multi-million-dollar monster wash plant, had to get down to better dirt to justify its colossal fuel burn. The $430,000 patch wasn't the end of the story. It wasn't a payday. It was a map to a treasure or a trap. It was just the beginning of an even more desperate fight. Was Parker right to risk it all for such a massive goal, or is he pushing his crew too far? Let us know below. Like and subscribe for more.